Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, epidemiologist, biostatistician, faculty member, and in this segment I'm going to be going over data wrangling basically. So this is a process that takes place in multiple windows with multiple programs as well. So this can get quite complicated. Actually, it's just so complicated that sometimes I have to repeatedly go back to some of the notes that I've taken and how to arrange my Excel spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and get started as to what is going on here. So this is something called a code book, and this is basically the recipe for how to handle variables that are going to be used from your data set. So the ones we're interested in, one thing that I don't understand is why a National Health Interview Survey has their death, don't have a death month, they have a death quarter. And so January to March is one quarter, April to June, July to September, and October to December. So what I did, and this is not just something I came up with, what I did is that I took, according to other literature, each of the quarters and assumed that the month was in between January and March. So the month between those two months is February. Between April and June, May is the middle. So anywhere that there was a quarter, I changed that and converted that to a month for the sake of not only simplicity, but also to be able to interpret what we find. So now I'm going to transition to an SPSS screen. Well, here's the Excel screen. Let me return to this. Actually, what goes on in SPSS is here's the syntax. Here's the highlighted syntax. You want to convert. Here's where the quarter to month gets converted, like I was telling you previously. The other thing that you want to make sure that you do before you get to the Excel spreadsheet that I'm going to be going over is, for instance, I'm going to give you this example here. What you want to do is save this under File and then save it as an Excel spreadsheet. And so there's actually a way to export. Go into File, go to Export, and then export as either an XLS document or XLX document. So now that we kind of talked about what goes, how to convert an SPSS to a Excel file, let's take a look at the actual file and see what is going on. So these are my notes. I've provided you, remember I gave you that syntax. Well, I've provided how to create another variable known as DODMTH, and you'll be seeing that variable momentarily. So that's the SPSS part. This is done. Now I think this is one of the hardest parts, is that how to maneuver through Excel and take a look. So these notes I tried to make comprehensive. These are notes that I created from the process that I followed. Let's go ahead and interpret all of these. So this is text. This is text. CG2. So what this is basically doing is giving you a synopsis of the final month, year, when the individual died. And this is the original when the interview took place. So this is the final the final date and month and year. Actually, that's what we're looking at. The final month and year, and then this is the initial month and year. And this takes a look at how to subtract the two. So this is the initial, this is the final, and you subtract the final minus initial. So now the tricky part is to take a look at what is going on here. One thing that I would actually, right off the bat, one thing that I would do is, this is quite a few variables and quite a few data points, so sometimes it takes some time. What I would do is, while this is trying to think about what to do, I would take EE, EF, and EG and then label the variables. So what I did is I took and bolded the variables that you need to be working on. So go ahead and type that variable name, so this is the easy part, and then go ahead and type this variable in, and then you can label the synthesized variable as months. So mmm-yyyr, let's go ahead and copy the actual formula, and this is the formula, and just enter that into this right here. Now I just copied this onto here. However, what you want to do is make sure that the cells are what the cells indicate here. So I'm going to do that actually in a reverse. So what I'm saying is that select enter here, and then this will turn into a date, and this is actually great. And then right on the right hand corner, bottom right hand corner, double click on that. And once you double click, what is interesting, and it took me a while to figure this out honestly, what happens is all these points get populated. So these are the kind of the final types of dates when mortality took place. Now we want to determine, what we want to determine here is the number of months that have transpired between the final date and the original date, and that is what we'll record here. All right, so remember previously I told you that we need to make sure that CN2 and CG2 are actually these variables. So CN2 is actually DODMTH, and CG2 is actually MORTDODY. Because at the end, you're not really concerned about the cell as much as you're concerned about the variable that you'll be using in terms of the data set. So let's go back in here and take a look at CG2 and see what is under there. And if the variable is not located, then we'll need to modify the variable, the cell number, accordingly. So we've arrived at CG2, and we're taking a look at CG2 to see if the actual variable, if CG1 is the actual variable that we're looking for, and CG2, or CG1, really the variable name. CG2 because that's where the actual data starts from. Remember, the first line always turns into a variable name. That's what Excel recognizes this as. So in other words, you don't have to, one thing that I didn't know is that you don't have to have the variable names instead of the cells. You want to have this in the first line. Anyway, so that's kind of an aside. So again, returning to CG2, CG2 is in fact MORTDODY. Now we need to check CN2, see if this is DODMTH. If not, then you'll again have to change this cell so that this reflects the variable name. What I'm trying to tell you is that the cell number is not as important as the variable name. That's what you want to be looking for. So we already confirmed CG2. Now let's take a look at CN2, and CN2 is DODMTH, is under DODMTH. So we have I just confirmed that we have the proper cells under here, and then you go into you actually go into the next cell. So again, let's work kind of backwards here. Let's take a look at what formula goes in there, and the formula that goes in there is this one. And you can kind of take a look here, paste the formula, and then remember again, click on this, bottom right, double click, that's going to the rest of the variables, rest of the cells. And remember, this is tens of thousands of variables, so you could not possibly do this manually. If you have very few data points, then you can do this manually. And some of the YouTube videos were actually looking at these, manually looking at this. Anyway, so we have to do the same thing with these, confirm that the variables are what they are. In fact, you will be having multiple variables here, different variable names according to the cell. So in your worksheet or spreadsheet, you're not going to be using R2 and S2. You'll probably have another cell that contains those variables. Let's take a look, for the sake of completion, that R2 and S2 are in fact the variables that are listed on here. And once we confirm that, then we can move on to the next cell. And in there, I'll show you how to manipulate the cell names in order to have a more complete picture. So R2, S2, R2 is interview month. That is correct. S2 is interview year. That is correct. So now taking a look at what are the variables that we're looking at, months. Now this is where things get a bit more complicated because you're going to have to change this. However, this is great practice in trying to do this. So let's copy this formula and place this here. Now these are the variables that you'll need to change, or cells. So what you'll need to do here is change the types of variables and change the cells. So we're going to look at EF2. Again, you're looking for an equivalent to CO2. Where basically, like I told you previously, what is more important is the variable name rather than the cell. You want to look for where this variable name is. So mmm-yyyy is considered here as CO2. mmm-yyyy here is EE2. So let's change that. And then this, and actually let's change that here as well, because this is going to have the same formula. Now, looking at the year, instead of CP2, we're going to change this because this is where the MOYR2 goes. MOYR2 is CP2. However, we're going to change this to EF2. And then this can go into EF2. Let's go ahead and select enter. I might have to do this again. So yeah, this is the actual formula. You can double check, make sure that you did this correctly. Now what you do is go to the bottom right hand corner, double click, and this is going to actually go through and populate the whole column with the variables. Sometimes this takes a bit of time, so bear with the process here. So here are the months, here's the months, and you can actually, when you're doing an analysis, you can convert that to any time that you want to convert to. So here's, this is basically how you take a data set and then look for the mortality, the time elapsed between the beginning point and mortality, and be able to determine how many months have lapsed. I hope this has made some sense. Thank you for listening.